Okay, it's August 19th. This is the monthly meeting of the Hardwick Electric Department. All the commissioners, Reno's not here. Except for Reno, are present or on Zoom. In addition, there is our general manager, Sarah, and our financial wizard, Beth, on Zoom.
Oh, thank you.
It's our pleasure. I'm telling you, retirement's not for you. Has everyone looked at the agenda? Any changes to the agenda?
That looks great.
Just have a couple quick modifications. One
Okay.
was to add the Velco special facility offering to the agenda, which could be maybe after the 401k.
Sure.
And then we've had a request from our reporter to move new business to before we go into executive session, so that
Great.
he can move back.
All right, you remind me about that other one.
Okay.
Okay, we have prior minutes. Anybody have any comments to the prior minutes?
No. I move to approve the prior minutes.
Second? I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Done. There are no public here unless there's anybody on Zoom, but I don't see anybody there either. So there is no public comment this time. Before we even start, so if you see at the bottom, we say we're adjourning at 7:30. The new policy is we're never going past 8 o'clock.
All right.
And we'll try and get to 7:30 as we go forward with these meetings. Financial reports, Beth, you want to run us through the monthly financials?
It's basically what I can, kind of review the memo that I had. Sales, kilowatt hour sales and revenue don't exactly, they're kind of off kilter. But I think some of this can be remedied by working with Beth more closely when we're doing our budget for next year, which we discussed last year. So I've already started reaching out to them to work with them to work on our kilowatt hour sales and sales projections for next year. So we can work together on that. A&G looks a little bit lower because we had the auditor expenses budgeted. That has not come through. What we were waiting on for the audit, or what the auditor was waiting on, was the GASB 68 report that the state does for our retirement plan. There's numbers in there that we have to post on our financials for 2024. That report just got released a couple of weeks ago, so now the audit should move forward very quickly. In fact, they'll be in the office this week, hopefully finishing up their work. Taxes are going to come in really lower than projected because the state changed the way they value property. And as the new invoices come in, I'll be adjusting the tax expense, so it will come in significantly lower than what we had budgeted, which it appears on the financials as a monthly expense because we accrue it, but then it also flows to the cash flow when we actually pay the payment. So both of those will be affected. And then other come is the FEMA, which Sarah has got more detailed information on.
And this says
Go ahead.
we're down to like 200,000 in cash at the end of, when was this, the end of the month? What was this for, July?
June.
June, okay.
June.
And where are we now compared to this 205,000 in June? Are we any better?
As of today, we're a little bit better because as we'll discuss further, we did get a little bit of FEMA monies in, and also for August, our rate increase, we're now collecting those revenues. So we are doing better, but just Sarah instituted a new plan that I think is really working well in that every week we are checking our cash, which
That's a great idea. That's so good. I applaud you.
As it was, but we're actually looking at it every week and determining which bills that are not due that week we actually need to pay.
Excellent.
So,
that is such a good practice.
And also, we've got the two bank accounts, Union Bank and People's. People's is currently collecting all of our funds that are when people pay their accounts electronically, all of that goes through Peoples. The Peoples is actually giving us a higher interest rate on our monies there. And in fact, for this money that we're holding, that we have to repay FEMA within, according to the bond covenants, within 45 days, we have to actually hold that money, and right now it's right at about 100,000. So we're actually holding it over in our People's Trust Bank because their interest rate on just the account that we have them was higher than any type of short-term investment that we've been able to find anywhere else. They're at 1%. So we're keeping as much money as we can in People's Trust for as long as we can.
Obviously, in accordance with any of the FEMA federal funding or bond covenants and things like that, so trying to keep an eye on all of those.
Well, your practice of looking at it on a weekly basis is really great, and it'll become more important now. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you get into a pinch and you create a moment of urgency. Oh, we can't do the payroll, or we can't pay someone we have to pay.
Yeah.
And then we jump through hoops, and you just, trust me, from working with companies, at all costs, you want to avoid that. Because it's less fun working with your lenders when you really need the money, right, Beth? It's more fun talking to them way ahead of time.
So every week, Sarah and I both are actually looking at every invoice that we've received. Both she and I have to, I approve it, and she gives the final approval of every invoice we've received. And then we look at, this is our cash situation, these are the ones that are actually due this week or within the next 10 days.
That's great.
Fabulous. 401k plan. So this is just to approve what was in the packet for the 401k, which I think we negotiated already with the union, and we signed a union deal.
So this is just documenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, according to NRECA's requirements, there has to be a board resolution to create that second, employee group. And then the resolution that Beth put together that's in here is essentially that you've adopted that, and then I can execute those just final agreements.
How does the motion have to go then for us to do this, Mike? What do you think?
I can tell you in the past, when we had to make similar changes to 401k, the motion, sometimes Lynn read all of it, but there were times that Lynn would say, I'm not going to get my verbiage exactly right, but the gist was recommend approving the motion or the resolution as provided in the board packet from NRECA or something to that effect.
All right, I'll do that for you.
Sure.
I move to approve the 401k plan adoption as documented in the packet for this meeting, and the documents dated August 19th, 2025. Move to approve this as presented here in writing.
Second. Any discussion? Very good. We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
So Sarah has the actual documents that Mike will need to sign the resolution, and then Sarah can sign the documents that change the 401k.
Okay. All right. Governance, management, staffing. So Sarah and I have had a little bit of discussion about this, and we've gone back and forth at a couple of meetings. There's a couple of issues. One is what our policy is, and I think Roger, you found, I think everybody has this, right? This was this thing we did back in 2021. Do you have this, Jake?
I'm not sure I do.
I have it electronically.
So we never really made that a full policy,
Yes, we did. We voted it. We approved it at the meeting.
you think?
Yeah.
It was in the minutes as approved, but it's not it looks like it's a guidance document, not necessarily a revision to the existing policy. That's what was confusing to me in seeing the guidance versus.
No, it wasn't it was the delegation of authority,
Okay.
and it was approved at that meeting.
Is that, Beth and I both pulled up like the minutes, the packets,
Yeah.
and it was unclear And also, no, I didn't see the documentation, obviously, when I was going through what policies we do have.
Okay.
But yeah, that's,
Well, we voted to approve it, Beth, so shame on us. We made the assumption that you'd be taking it and putting it in the proper files wherever it goes. So that doesn't matter, but that was now, because if it needs revising anyway, let's just make sure, when we invest the time to have a discussion, have a vote, approve something, I mean, it should go in the files,
yes.
you know.
I would just suggest that maybe we all take one more look at it, just see if there's any update we want to do.
Great.
Then we could reissue it, re-vote on it, and be done with it as a policy.
So is there a proposal for a change?
So in the additional materials, I had proposed a few different policy kind of revisions that covered that scope and some other, internal operating procedures to correspond with that. And I think the hope is that at a special meeting, we can fully dive into that and discuss that in greater detail, but to provide.
Couldn't we just do it during executive committee?
We could if we have time.
Yeah.
This may take a little bit of going through. There's also the reorganization, the whole governance and how we're gonna operate. So we wanna make sure it has enough time given to it so we can all agree on it and get it done once.
That's great.
So I would say, let's all take a look at this, make any comments you want, and then we can have one special meeting about that and the staffing and just get it behind us.
So just to confirm, the top half of the page is the delegation of authority. The bottom half of the page was the guideline on information sharing.
Okay.
So it's not a guideline, it's a delegation of authority that was voted. But it can be changed at any time, and I think. the
Yeah, I only
spirit-
found one item in there, reading it
Yeah.
5 years later, that said, maybe we don't need that item.
Great.
So I guess we'll
I
get a
think that
chance.
you had mentioned that the dollar values for procurement don't align with the new procurement policy, so there's definitely things that
So
need to
that's the
be
kind of thing.
revised.
Yeah. Very, very good, very important. So what are you thinking, Mike? You just wait. We'll schedule a special.
Yeah, maybe after the holiday, September sometime, we'll just get it over with. Give us a chance to look at it. Give Sarah another 1 month to say, oh my God, I've got to change something.
So we'll plan for, I'll poll folks to try and schedule it for sometime in September,
Yeah,
after Labor Day.
yeah. So did you want to do I'm sorry, jump, didn't I?
That's good.
You want to go over the
The transco?
transco?
Yes,
Yeah.
so apologies, this didn't make it to the first packet, just a little bit later that day. In seeing the deadline that they have for a response, it aligns where we would need, the board needs to take action one way or the other prior to the next meeting. Essentially, they are reoffering a special facilities, shares at units due to Green Mountain Power not selecting those. And for some context, Transco is the whole state's transmission provider, and all of the distribution utilities have a specific share of ownership, equity share, and there's a good return. There's a revenue requirement and return based on the tariffs for regional transmission owners and also in the ISO market. So it does help the utilities in the end, because any facilities that are required in order to meet regional demand are shared in cost by all of the rest of the region. So there's an equity return for each distribution utility share and unit that is owned by any individual. So the question here is that Hardwick Electric has a specific allocated share, which was the $29,990, with the election option to elect to extend that closing date, which is a 3-year period, so the cash wouldn't be due right away, it can be due within 3 years. And that's one piece. There's another option to purchase or, basically express your interest in any unsubscribed shares that aren't allocated or that someone doesn't opt to choose to purchase. And there's, of course, the option to pay outright. Hardwick Electric pays outright, or it's financed through Vermont Public Power Supply Authority because they handle our power supply, regional power supply. So it could be an equity share that is a reduction on our overall power supply bill settlement as another option as well.
But even if we finance it through VEPSA, it's still positive cash flow for us.
Correct.
It's, I
Yes,
forget the interest rate
it's
was, but
always,
it's great.
what I recall is it's always something we want to take advantage of.
Always, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, best investment we have.
How often do they like make the shares available, or how often do we have the opportunity to purchase into the allocated?
So the special facilities, this one's a re-offering, but they typically are asking for equity calls every year now.
Okay.
There's a lot of transmission projects that are coming up, and so there's, they can get the equity through the utilities within Vermont that are their owners already, or they can call out more broadly, which folks would invest in.
Yeah, okay. So this is representing expansion of transmission, really, and so we're buying into those
Or, yeah,
expansion projects generally, or is it existing?
or asset condition upgrades. There's certain, so for example, there's a, large converter that is on the Canadian-US interface, and so
Okay.
that needs to have some upgrades in the long term, and there will be equity calls to get that project rolling, but it's
Okay.
things like that. It could be
Yeah.
just within state, or it could be something that's serving a broader region,
Mhm.
which the special facilities are, or specific facilities, excuse me.
And you said we have up to 3 years possibly to pay for this part?
Correct.
Which would be through financing with VEPSA, or is that just on our own?
Either one.
So you're suggesting we go through VEPSA, or we just do it ourselves?
I'm suggesting that we do go through VEPSA for this. The dollar amount is enough that, if we could get that return and just discount, if the dividends are getting paid against our power supply settlement, I think
Mhm.
it helps hedge against any potential rising costs if we needed it, which are typically driven by the region as it is.
Okay, and
I believe that's what we did last time.
Correct.
do we have to decide now on the additional units in the future?
Yes, in order to complete and submit the forms, it would be a decision on whether to, request or any unsubscribed units up to a certain dollar or number of volume of units, but
And would it be best to have the form of our vote be the same as the last time?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, if you can help us get back, that would
So I believe the official motion last time was to enter the document circulated, purchase the proportional share with the expected issuance with a cap not to exceed a dollar figure.
Yeah.
And then what was the dollar figure last time?
That one was 2 million.
And this one would just be whatever's in question here. Got it.
No, we need a cap again.
Correct.
All right. I'll let somebody else do the motion.
We're looking at you, Miles, if you wanted to make the
Miles, you can do the motion.
If we're ready for that.
I move that we enter, that we order to purchase a proportional share of the expected issuance by Transco. Well, hold on, I'm gonna hit the brakes. Do we want to use the same cap as last time?
There's
No.
not that much available.
I think the old cap is 929,000, right? It's what they have.
And the cap doesn't imply that
We get it all.
if more become available, because I read in here that they might, as other utilities might decline, there's more available.
Correct.
Okay,
So
and,
this would be the option that if, instead of having to ask again,
yeah,
if those are available, we would like up to X dollar figure.
we don't anticipate the total reoffering to exceed the amount here.
No,
Okay.
it's just for that amount, that total
Great.
amount.
So is there a reason not to use 929 as the cap?
I don't see why we shouldn't.
Other than it would be, 9 instead of the 29, because our share is the 29, 990.
Oh, that comes out of the 929?
Oh, yeah.
So we would just subtract that.
Say 900, yes, Ben did 900,000.
It seems like the unsubscribed total reoffering doesn't include the allocated amount initially?
So the total reoffering is that $929,870, and HED's allocated shares are the $29,990.
Ah,
So it
okay.
would be
So they're
whatever
different.
less from
Thank you,
that total. Yep.
thank you.
Sounds like $899,000 to me. We'll leave them at $278. So Miles, if you want to do it, I would say it's $899,000.
All right, I move that we enter into the documents circulated to the commission in order to purchase our proportional share of the expected issuance by Transco with a cap not to exceed $899,000.
That work?
Seconded?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I always want to be on the tail of this one and get a little of my money in there.
Yeah.
The rate's unbelievable.
And the other second piece of that is the extension of the closing to the 3-year extension.
Yes.
Um,
So that's another motion.
I think yes, please.
I could make this one, I'll read this almost exactly. So I'll make a motion to agree to defer up to 3 years to acquire the shares in order to enable VPPSA to optimize the borrowing
Or financing.
or financing for the shares.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Wolcott Hydro.
Okay, so as Beth mentioned, we did get one of the FEMA payments for a lot of the work that had been done. Goodness, would have been partially 24 damages and partially 23. And at the same time, we are working through the architectural engineering study that D&K has been working on for the feasibility study. And at this point, they have initial findings and are hoping to convene, I think next week or the week after, a meeting with all of the emergency stakeholders, state regulators, FEMA, state EMA, the floodplain manager, so that we can get some consensus on the design criteria, whether it needs to be a 500-year flood event designed to a 500 or a 100-year flood, and what that means as far as reimbursement levels and percentages. So that's where we are now, and I anticipate that, I don't know if you saw any additional information over the last couple of days, but we are hoping that that meeting will be held next week, just so we
It
can.
is next week, it's next Tuesday.
Excellent. And once they have that, then they'll be able to move forward with actually developing that preliminary report, getting it to the board, and taking that next step in the process overall of the study.
So that's going to be options and cost estimates.
Correct.
In a 500-year flood, we barely got to a 100-year flood. A 500-year flood is we know Hardwick. Forget the Wolcott station. This
Well,
town
and I
will be
think
gone.
Partially what they found was that the damage done to the building was a 500-year event. The damage done to the penstocks was actually more like a 100-year event. But how do you distinguish, are they components of the same facility broadly, or is each component an individual facility? Like, are the penstocks considered a facility? Is the sluice gate, and that is complicated, and also splitting hairs, but that's the kind of guidance that they need in order to actually perform those recommendations and design criteria.
Such a big.
And usually before a granular estimate is performed for a construction project, most people with subject matter expertise have a pretty good idea of the order of magnitude costs. Are we still feeling that this is going to be an advantageous project for us to pursue?
I'd say from everybody I've talked to, the answer is yes. But I've always had my doubts of, what's a brand new facility versus fixing this one? What's the cost benefits? I guess putting a brand new one in that place is impossible. But the benefits of this one are just overwhelming.
200,000 a year,
Yeah,
in my recollection. I mean, if you just rough number.
and what's interesting is only to get worse, because, you know, if we start buying more and more outside, we're gonna find those rates going up crazy.
Yep.
We were
Yeah.
at NEPA, was that what it was yesterday?
Yes.
I went with Sarah at NEPA meeting yesterday, and, you know, people all talking about, you know, these data centers, and you think, well, it doesn't affect us, but, you know, the Northeast, I think it was our territory, the Northeast, we have 25 megawatts of power that we can produce, and by 2030, they're gonna add another 50 megawatts on top of what we have. For data centers that are not here, but around us,
Wow.
that are gonna affect us. So everything we buy is gonna cost a fortune.
Wow.
But
Great, that's helpful.
nuclear's coming. They all talked about it yesterday.
Google announced it today.
Who did? Google? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as long as we don't buy Russian power plants, we're okay. General Manager's report.
Okay, so I tried to highlight some of the key items and then included in the shared library or the regular reportings, outage report and disconnection reports and things like that that occur and are filed with the regulators on a monthly or quarterly basis. So GIS data collection, we are moving right along. The last time I spoke with the consultant or contractor directly, they said they were about 60% done, and that's before they started back this last month. So they are moving along. The images of the map are really coming together, being able to visualize and see the aggregate of where, how many customers, how many meters, how many transformers, where our voltage regulators are, where you've got switching in place, has been extremely helpful for me, and I think helps us all support, you know, when we've got outages and how to more appropriately, I think, design improvements going forward. So very excited for that to be in place. In fact, I think Beth and some of the other office staff were kind of making fun of me because as soon as I could print out a map, I was like, look at this. So it's just good to see it on, you know, something more digital than a bunch of sheets of paper. So I'm very excited for that. The operations and maintenance and construction in general have been going really well. Our crews are stepping up and really finishing projects and making sure that they're moving along. You know, if weather permits, they're requesting extra, you know, what about that project? Oh, well, it's gonna be scheduled next week, but if you got the time, go for it. So I think that's been a good show for customers and representation that, you know, work is happening and it's not, you know, no one's stalling for the sake of stalling. It's generally permitting or going through interconnection applications that might take some time, but overall, I think we're moving along. The phase one of the Craftsbury circuit, the right-of-way clearance, our contact, the person who was putting the agreement together, ended up being in the hospital for almost a week and a half, and so that took a little bit more time to get. I heard from him today, and I will have it tomorrow morning, so I anticipate the one that is within the approved range that we had discussed at the last
How did the
meeting.
other bids look that you got?
Nearly double.
Oh, really? So
Wow.
it's a
Yeah.
good, it's a good.
Yeah. So we'll proceed with that as soon as we can. I think it is in dire need. You know, over the last 24 hours along that circuit, we've had the whole Craftsbury circuit go down. Not necessarily because of trees, but I think as soon as we can get better sectionalizing in that area, the better. So it's not taking it down full circuits and the need is there. Customer relations and communications, I've had several one-on-one customer visits and conversations with folks who either had concerns about, you know, X, Y, or Z. I've gone and met with them at their premise as if they request, or come to the office and talk through some issues. Beth has been working really hard over the last several weeks, probably 2 months or so, on the direct customer communications for texting abilities and emails. So if there are certain announcements, so we actually have that in place and can better communicate outside of public channels,
Yeah.
you know, broadly on Facebook or newspapers. That this is another option to communicate directly with customers, and we anticipate that'll be rolling out within the next I don't know, Beth, what would you say, 2 to 4 weeks for the texting and emails? Yeah.
Yeah.
As I mentioned at the last meeting, we had some updates and kind of reconfiguring done on our website, and it's been helpful, but a little less valuable than I had anticipated, and so I think we will be reviewing other build structures. I mean, I've done web work for a long time, and the way that it's structured is just not very user-friendly, and it's a little clunky, so I think it may be advantageous to the department to think about an actual full web rebuild, where it really guides a customer through, you know, what a utility process looks like, whether it's, you know, applying for a new construction project or an interconnection, net metering, what have you. I think if we can have that built out to really tell that story better, and I think the website is the first stop, and where we don't necessarily have that in-house skill set, and it's also hard to navigate our system on the back end, the website on the back end. I think it would be a good investment long-term to just outsource that. And so I'm hoping, you know, once we get closer to the end of the year, we know where we're coming in against budget. If we can get it started before the end of the year, great. I mean, it's about we have a very, very good bid, which is actually under the procurement thresholds, but at the same time, it's a 3-month build-out, I think, is what they've quoted. So I'd like to get further along, understand where we are in the budget, and then propose something to the board.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta throw out the old and start over.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
that's kind of where I've seen it. So I think it's, you know, if customer relations and that engagement piece is still a strategic priority for the department, which I understand that it is, then I think that is an important step to take, an investment to make.
Yeah.
The regulatory affairs piece, we are still working through discovery for the rate case. That should be done by Monday or Tuesday. We had an extension. There were issues on either side of both the department and for VEPSA, so that's underway. We have the information request for the integrated resource plan.
Is there a sense now on the rate case of, are we targeting an ultimate resolution date? Like,
I mean,
I thought I saw December or something.
the scheduling order has final decisions in, I think, February of 26. I'm hoping that it doesn't take that long. The questions they've asked haven't been overly surprising. Beth, what do you think? I mean, I don't think the discovery questions have been out of the ordinary or unreasonable, so
okay.
We'll get there. And then as far as the integrated resource plan, most of the questions are pretty benign. The ones that I think present a challenge for Hardwick in general, just because of when the IRP became due, is the public engagement efforts leading up to filing that. And, you know, as you know, it was due in May, and I just started in January, and I think there's a lot of work that had to be done between start and, you know, I think I don't have the best answer for the public engagement other than the fact that these are all public meetings, and I think you folks as commissioners are out there in the community and seeking feedback, and so I think with the changeover in leadership, there was a lot more, you know, forward-facing communication, and hopefully that can help define and inform what we did for the IRP.
Did HIPSA get back to you with, around support for communications for the rate increase there?
Not directly. There's been back and forth, and I haven't had any specific content from them to adapt to. I know that there has been content developed in many years past for key account customers, but that's, as I recall, a lot of that content was developed more so before the rate case gets filed, so you can kind of talk to your key account customers and say, hey, just want you to be aware this is happening, and you know, if you have questions, if you have concerns, come talk to us, that sort of thing, and then some broad messaging. I've been working off and on how to develop a broader statement for customers overall, and I think showing inflation rates was very valuable the last time there was a very large increase, and I think the rising costs in all of the equipment and wire and transformers and all of the extra hardware is actually what's driving it now. And there's been a few national reports that highlight that, which I've been able to pull those data sources, and I'm trying to compile it all together into a broader statement that we can help publish. But
One thing,
Okay.
I talked with another, with someone who's actually in Standard, so they're Washington Electric, I think. So, but they were talking about their distributed energy production, like they have a windmill and solar, and I think one of the things he brought up mostly that was bothering him about his rates going up were reduction in buyback, or like the rate that he was getting for his excess production and changes around that kind of thing. Is that something that is addressed in kind of our communications, and or something that you've noticed is of concern for folks in our service area?
I mean, I think there's a very large debate around, net metering was set up and the rates were at a premium to encourage adoption. And now that it is a more permeated market, I think the state sets those rates. It's not something that Hardwick Electric sets.
Okay, so even
And so that first and foremost, it's not a rate we set. It is set by the state, and it depends on when you actually get your certificate of public good. And so, the state and the legislature changes how that works. With the new res, there's grandfathering, and so I think, there are some customers who started early, who had the means to install net metered systems early, and are making 4 times what the wholesale market rate is. So it actually makes it more expensive for all the rest of the utility or customers that can't put a solar panel on their house or on their apartment, right? So there's an age-old debate about cost shifting, and does net metering cost shift to those who are less capable of or less resourced to do it on their own. And so I think as a utility, Hardwick and most others try to weigh that with utility scale projects that can reduce that cost, but it's not at that paid out premium per kilowatt hour, because it's on PPA or wholesale market rate.
And then of course the transmission costs, the additional just infrastructure to support all the distributed resources also makes it more expensive, correct?
Absolutely, and I think there's, that's part of the challenge. One of the sessions that we heard yesterday, you have to build to the peak. So even though we have a ton of solar and distributed energy on our system, a standard offer project plus utility scale plus the hydro, when those things aren't producing, you still have to meet the overall demand, and that's going to require infrastructure and purchase power and protection control systems.
Or as one guy said yesterday, go to your neighbors if you're too cold. Give you just enough, 96% of the year, and the other time go to your neighbor. Like, really? That's what we tell people in the farm in the middle of nowhere, go to your neighbor, because you don't have enough electricity. It's a tough problem.
Well, Sarah, you're juggling innumerable things that you have to prioritize, but I was certainly intrigued last month when Bits said that part of the services that we pay for are the communications help. So to the extent that you think it could be helpful, the increased rate is hitting now. It's on the bills every month. So I think if you think it could be advantageous to get that communications out with or without their help sooner rather than later, in the Gazette, on Facebook, on our website, I think it's a public relations opportunity.
Understood, thank you.
We need an editorial in the Gazette.
Yeah.
There's something about it. Just here's the truth of what life is out right now, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
You may be complaining, but guess what? It's not going to get better.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that after we have our all-staff meeting tomorrow, we're going to be talking about priorities and some of the things that Beth has been working on for customer-facing programs, and I can use that opportunity to both demonstrate the progress we're making, acknowledge that yes, the rates are increasing or have increased through this rate increase, but there are legitimate reasons, and we're hoping and trying to be the best stewards of those funds as we can. It's not to make a profit.
And sometimes the reasons, regardless of their legitimacy, can still hurt.
Yes.
And comparisons to neighboring communities and the rest of the state and other states can be helpful. So I remember, I think the last time I looked at this just by the numbers, and GMP rates are significantly higher, so, you know, we're still paying less than the majority of Vermonters. That's nice. We're paying less than other munis. You can highlight that. You know, why do you live in Hardwick? What benefits does everybody get from us having a municipal electric? Here's where we stand in comparison to all the others.
Hey, Miles, if you write that as an outline, I'll help Sarah write the tutorial.
I just said it all. I mean, really,
Yeah,
I
that's
think the GMP one was the fact that stuck with me. It's like, if we pay less than most Vermonters, great. We still have to cover our costs, and here are the reasons, but let's just remember what's going on.
Well, there was a graph yesterday at this presentation of electric rates nationally, and the highest is California. And the second highest is the Northeast, us. And New York, New Jersey, it's all way below us, just goes like this, and we're way up here.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with.
Even across Lake Champlain, Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
Which is a mind bender.
Regulations will kill you. Want to do new business? Any new business?
I don't have any. Has Liam hopped on yet? I don't think so.
No,
Did see your note on professional development here as well.
Yes,
Yeah, that's good.
and I'll just highlight it quickly since Liam's not here yet, but we have had two of our head linemen attending an advanced line worker program at NEPA at their training facility and last week, and then they will continue for a couple extra weeks, and it's been a really good training opportunity for them. We also have two field crew attending the Metering 2 program, which will kind of go into that advanced metering and how to make sure that the billing meter multipliers are correct, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be good book training and some hands-on, so that when we're going through the actual AMI project deployment and troubleshooting or needing additional insight and skill set, that they'll be prepared for that. And I think there's a customer connections kind of energy conference that NEPA does. It's regional. I'm hoping some of our office staff will be able to attend as well, because it really covers those communication efforts, and that it's not just one person who's responsible for the community. We're all a little bit responsible for how we communicate out and carry that message for the utility.
Great.
Oh, one other thing, yes, that was amazing, was Littleton, which is how far from here. They were hacked last year or the year before.
Really?
Yeah, and amazingly not by individuals, but by what they believe is another country,
Yeah.
with the intent of let's find out how we control everything, so when the time comes, we want to do something, we can take control of utility companies around the country.
Executive session.
Wow.
And it was a big deal, and they resolved it to this
Yeah.
company that offers a lot of free services, nice
Okay.
company, which,
Liam is available now whenever we want to
Let's see, yeah.
do his executive session.
which one is he?
Do you want me to go ahead and let him in now?
That's the big one.
Boy, that's.
The big one?
Did we verify that there was no new business? I'm just wondering if.
Any new business? Yeah.
Nope.
I think that's the motion,
Okay.
right? We should be good.
Yeah. Which one are you going into, the first one or the second one?
Let's go into the second one,
Okay.
just for.
So shut the recording, go into the executive session to discuss confidential matter, premature disclosure would be detrimental to Hardwick Electric concerning, it's confidential, client communications.